Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe with episode, well, technically 49, right? But we know there is no true episode 49. Well, I mean, we are going to talk here for just a minute, kind of wrap this thing up. It's been a long journey. 48 episodes in all, 24 each season, year one, year two. Commented an awful lot along the way, so I'll keep it short and brief. This has been an absolute pleasure. I never thought in a million years when I asked for this for Christmas that it would lead ultimately to this. And it has. And if you can ever get your hands on this Shout Factory release of year 1 and 2 with a supplemental disc, it is it's really quite amazing. So much in there that is good. But I want to talk just for a minute on Message from Moonbase Alpha. Now, you can see this via YouTube. It's only 7 minutes, a 7-minute short fan film. September 13th, 1999. It was produced specifically for a convention that was going to happen, remembering Space 1999. I want to say it was in Los Angeles, maybe. I could be wrong. 7 minutes. It's a short, starring Zienia Merton as, of course, Sandra Barnes, or Baines, right? Sandra. She will give us, she's the only one. We do see a glimpse of other cast members, though, via images from prior episodes. And it is what it ultimately is in the end. It is a gift of Johnny Byrne, who wrote it, and I thought, fantastic job. And really all this is it is, I think, meant more than anything to give us closure when there was no closure. When this season ended, there was still hope there would be a third season. And when that third season never materialized, well, then we were left as fans, those who were there really for the whole ride, which I wasn't, of course. I remember seeing it. I remember I had the toys and all of that good stuff. But I would not have been one of the ones left there in season or episode 48, the Dorkins, sort of with an empty, hole in my stomach, wondering, is there going to be a season 3? Not season 3. Maybe I was expecting a season 3. And when season 3 never materializes and Space 1999 is no more, there's no closure to this series. And it deserved closure. And so Message from Moonbase Alpha, I think, serves more than anything to be that closure. Really, Sandra illustratively paints this picture where the life support systems on Moonbase Alpha are slowly but surely, very quickly, going to crash. There's nothing they can do. They are headed really to be on a lifeless moon with no chance at life. At that moment of realization, we, as it has happened throughout the seasons, suddenly the moon is tossed and about a few solar systems away or whatever, and when it comes out of that sort of warp, for the lack of a better word, they realize very quickly, but there is a habitable planet, but they've only got 6 days to make up their mind. But is there really an opportunity to make? I mean, is there really anything to think about? You're on a moon and it's going to die, and here is a possible habitable planet. And so the decision is ultimately made, although she says in the message, it was not an easy, I don't know what the decision is, but it's not easy to make. And so it's really one ultimate risk exchange for another risk, but one I think where hope is more, right? I mean, and so they very quickly decide, evacuate Moonbase Alpha, head to this new planet, which they call Terra Alpha. And she is left like the last one. There's only one ego left that is waiting for her, and she gives this last plea to those who may ultimately receive this message on Earth, and not to those, just those who knew of Moonbase Alpha and the disaster, but also those who perhaps did not know, and that really ultimately their plight in the end. And so she goes in. I'm not gonna go through all of it, but it is a pretty it is a pretty meaty 7 minutes, and it does leave you ultimately in the end, I think, with a bit of closure, especially like I've just gone through this entire 2-year, reviewing each and every episode. And so it was nice. It was really nice. And to think through some of it is actually quite fascinating, because you kind of get this sense that throughout all of their adventures and near-death scenarios, you wonder, why didn't you just grab this opportunity or that opportunity? Why didn't you just leave Moonbase Alpha and take this planet over that planet, this planet? And you kind of get this sense, we get comfortable as people. We get comfortable in our places. And sometimes, even though we're supposed to move away from that spot that we are in, and we know we're supposed to move, the risk of moving sometimes is greater than what we want to deal with. And yet sometimes circumstances will come in that will force you to move. And then it's not until you're on the other side of that move that you realize that in fact was the best thing that could have happened to you. But you needed something to jolt you, to force you. And this, I think, sort of, goes, Black Sun, I revisited that the other day. I revisited a few of the first year one episodes. Black Sun, I think, is one of my favorite, may be my favorite. And I love the acceptance of Victor Bergman. The acceptance, or near acceptance, however far you want to take that there is this unseen yet very real providential hand that has been moving with purpose and intent, guiding them, keeping them from destruction, preserving them. Obviously, in the end, I think 37 lives will be lost on Moonbase Alpha. But considering the amount of people on Moonbase Alpha and considering the near misses, that is still pretty remarkable that only 37 ultimately, and of course a handful of eagles, right? And yet this providential hand, and as Sandra says in her message, has moved, although she uses the word random, it has moved with purpose. It's weird. And I think ultimately in the end, at least in terms of Johnny Byrne's writing, it just seems appropriate that we would come to a point where this moving unseen hand would create a jolting moment that would force them to leave. And I believe with hope, in terms of this universe of Space 1999, that they will go on living and be a good start to a restart for humanity in another part of space. And so, my hope is, I wish, if this movie ever saw a renewed interest in the sense of being created into a theatrical film, I think an ingenious idea would be to take this message from Moonbase Alpha and use it as a means of segueing into what ultimately will be the whole beginning and adventure of this thing. I think in terms of who might be receiving it ultimately in the end, maybe the state of the earth at that point, people looking for at that point where they just need a ray of hope that they're going to get out of this fix, whatever that fix may or may not be. We never really been told that once the moon was ripped out of the Earth's gravitation, that all the unseen damage would happen. And ultimately, the Earth was probably not left in a very good set of circumstances. And so I would find it very fascinating if you get an Earth that is maybe on the tipping point of perhaps the abyss, and suddenly out of seemingly nowhere, this message comes 20 years after the fact, and it allows for a ray of hope that perhaps not all is lost. I mean, that becomes the segue of being sort of catapulted backwards to the days leading up to the fateful explosion and then the ripping off the moon out of it. And I just think there's so much you could do with that would be so freaking cool. And so maybe there is hope someday it'll happen. I don't know. It would be really, really super cool though. But I've enjoyed this 2-year run. I've enjoyed year 1 well more better than year 2, but I have found a lot of things to enjoy about year 2. Maya is turned out to be, for me, a really enjoyable character. My only regret, not regret's a weird way of putting it, but I wish Victor Bergman would have been kept on, and him and Maya and Koenig and Helena. I can't imagine those conversations. And Tony, being a new addition. It's just too bad and Paul, it's too bad they couldn't have kept characters, at least, I just think it would have. But then again, year 2 is not year 1. Year 2 is something much more oriented to the American audiences, where year 1 was much more oriented to the British audiences. And I think, as a result of not just that, but year 1 is superior to year 2. A lot more. I love the philosophical bent and just the thought, the writing, the time spent on each episode, not having to deal with episodes being filmed simultaneously. So in one, you're not going to have any characters at all because they're off doing this. It's just, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot to enjoy in year 1, but there's a lot to enjoy in year 2 too. It's its own thing. It's kind of its own, I don't know, show in a way. It's weird, but it's been so I guess like Sandra, it's kind of my last final. I'm gonna have so much fun just going back occasionally, revisiting some of my favorite episodes, and yeah, I'll be going back to year 2 and revisiting some of those as well. But this has been absolutely fantastic, and this has been so much fun to read and incorporate, help my thoughts. Kenneth Muir's reference book on Space 1999. If you've never picked this one up, it's so well worth it. And yet, here we are. I'm going to take a week off, at least from this, and then there's this. Boom. I just got this a little bit ago, so this is where we are headed. And a few weeks from now, I'm already doing some prep. Basically, it'll be seasons 1 through 5. Then I'll take a look at Fight the Future, and then seasons 6 through 9. Take look at I Want to Believe film, and then finish up with seasons 10 and 11. And same format as Space, 1 episode a week, drop on Wednesday. We'll just keep doing the same thing we've done before. So give me a little bit of time before this starts to drop. I already threw a teaser down on my channel, alluding to where I was headed, and this is exactly where I'm headed. This is only, I say, $144. But it's a whole lot cheaper than the American release, which is like $400. It's insane. Now, the packaging, I think, on the American is probably better. Ultimately, this is much more condensed. But when you got 11 seasons, man, I'll be fine with this. But I love the artwork. This is pretty solid. So that's where we're headed, man. So the truth is out there. We're going to start searching for that truth here in but a few weeks. So Space 1999 is officially a wrap. It is done. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for the support. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for just the views, the watches, and riding this ride with me. And I hope you will come aboard and maybe bring some others that are X-File fans that remember this was easily my most beloved series, because I was old enough to appreciate when this first came out. I wrote it from pilot all the way to the end. Saw the films in the theater. I mean, Space 1999, I was 6-7 years old. There's only so much I remember of that. I remember having the toys and all of that, but the X-Files happened to me at a much more mature point of my age, and I am going to have an absolute blast tackling this, starting with pilot. I'm looking forward to it. So anyways, I'm going to leave this behind. We're going to move to the X-Files, and I hope it's fun. I'm sure it will be. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.